Hey everybody, welcome to episode 55, week 55 of the Hey Everybody podcast. I'm Christopher Gold. I hope things have been well with you. Things have been real good with me and us. We've been playing some shows. That's been really good. I felt really good about every show so far, and had varying degrees and kinds of success, but it's all felt really good. People have been wonderful. Been meeting a lot of nice folks after the show at the merch table, and hearing some real nice things. So thank you for coming and for saying hello and listening when appropriate and dancing when appropriate and that kind of thing. We played our first big hometown show since everything. We played our first hometown show in 16 months at one of our favorite venues in town called Fox River House. It's an outdoor venue. Saw a lot of familiar faces, a lot of new faces. Saw some people singing along the words to some songs I wrote. That felt really good. Stop me if I ever get used to that, It's not a common occurrence, but every time it does happen, I notice, and I really appreciate it. My friend Henry came up from Milwaukee and opened for us. I really love him. I love his songwriting. He sings and plays guitar and writes for this band here called SS Web, which is short for Steering Ships with Empty Bottles. This is their latest. It's called This Cold Soul, and it's so good. It's the first time I'm recommending a CD on the podcast. But they released this, and then the pandemic happened, and the record kind of got lost, as happened for so many of us. So listen to the song Down off of This Cold Soul by Steering Ships with Empty Bottles. It's phenomenal. They're all great. For my money, equally like a one-of-a-kind sound, but also one of my favorite bands within whatever we're going to call that genre. I think they're the most interesting, and I'm happy to call them friends, and I want to encourage you to check that out so it doesn't get lost forever when they eventually make the next one. Thinking about the pandemic and this being episode 55, which is week 55, which is we've been doing this for over a year now. I have a tendency to just keep rolling, and you make the record, and then you make the next record, and then you make the next record, and you find yourself in this position where you're looking backwards 4 records ago and going, I like that record. We never really did much with that record, did we? Because I finished it and hurried on to the next one. And doing this podcast for over a year, it's interesting to think about how it started and the spirit behind it and the intention behind it. And those things haven't changed, the spirit and the intention. It was really about trying to connect with people and that kind of thing, but somewhat motivated by the fact that I couldn't connect with people the way I'm used to. I couldn't play shows. And I think about what the world looked like in early July of 2020, and it was a very different place. Some things have changed and some things haven't, and some things have improved and some things haven't. But now that the shows are back, and we're staring down the barrel of a big month musically. Sorry if my chair is creaking and bothering you. We have Mile of Music here in Appleton, which will end up being probably, if I had to guess, probably 10 shows in 4 days, which I'm very excited about. It'll be half solo and half band, which I'm very excited about. We're going to be on some big stages, which I'm very excited about and really grateful for that opportunity. And like I said, the shows lately have all been really good. And part of what makes a show good for me is what happens after, which is a really wide variety of people come up to me and want to chat for a minute. And often it goes to a very deep place, because I think the show goes to a deep place, without any judgment for people that are. I am not one of these happily married guys that still inexplicably singing breakup songs. And I'm not one of these guys that puts on a fake accent and sings about the dusty trail or whatever people are doing. I sing stuff and I mean it, and I tell stories that are true. And the result of that is that people will come up to me afterwards and comment on a song or a story and then tell their story. And oftentimes, it gets emotional, and had a handful of shows since we came back where people have cried and we hug afterwards, and that's really special and really valuable to me, and one of the things that makes me feel successful, because that is the goal, to connect with people and to share something real with them. And I think for those two reasons, being that August is going to be real busy, and that I feel like I need to sort of stay fresh for those moments. You go to a deep place and it takes some energy to do, and I want to make sure I can do that, so I need a little bit of downtime now and then. I think we're going to take a couple weeks off from the podcast. I love doing it, and I am positive I will be back doing it. I think when I come back, it might be a little bit different, either the schedule of it or the format of it or the length of it. I don't know. I've kicked around the idea of doing like a monthly thing and having it be longer, so people can take their time going through it, or I don't know. But it feels like the right time to like take just a little rest, so that I can actually rest on my days that I'm not running around playing shows and stuff coming up here. And I appreciate you guys watching, and I really appreciate the messages from people saying that they've gotten something out of this. It's been really good, and it will be back for sure. It just felt like kind of time. Like, let's take a minute and come back to it fresh, with some really good ideas and some renewed enthusiasm and all that kind of stuff. And in the meantime, you can come see me at a show. You can go to ChristopherGold.com, and there's all kinds of dates, and I don't think any of them will cost you any money. You can just come see us and come say hey. And before I leave you, I wanted to tell you a couple things. First, there's this hum in the universe right now, this little buzz underneath everything right now, that COVID's not over, because it's not, and that it's going to come back, and that they're going to shut everything down again, and our kids might not get to go to school, and all this stuff. And I don't know. That may well be. I don't know. The dirty little secret is that most of the people telling you one thing or another thing, they don't know either. If you're not getting your medical advice or news from doctors, question it. But I read this article on, I believe, CNN.com, fairly reputable, as reputable as news can get, I suppose. And it was about this, there's been a spike in infections and in hospitalizations and in deaths, and you better be afraid. Not cautious, not informed, not prepared. Scared, afraid, fearful. And I read this article, and I'm not making this up, I counted and I wrote it down. I read 18 paragraphs about how drastic the situation, everything's so bad, and people are getting sick, and so many people, and in the 19th paragraph, they share with us this little tidbit. 97% of the hospitalizations have been unvaccinated people. Of the 3% of people that were fully vaccinated, half of them were immunocompromised, which means 1.5% of the hospitalizations they were talking about in this terrifying article were healthy, vaccinated folks. And it's unpopular, but I have sympathy for anyone who's in the hospital, whether you're unvaccinated or vaccinated or whatever. But it really highlights what the point of this article was. They're trying to scare the shit out of you so that you will keep coming back to their website and read their articles and not notice that on the side, either side of your screen, are ads, and they're just making money and not very concerned about how it affects your sleep or your day or your relationships or your life or your well-being or whatever. So I'm here to tell you, 97%, according to CNN.com, of recent hospitalizations have been unvaccinated people. Do with that whatever you will. Maybe you're unvaccinated and it will motivate you to get vaccinated. I don't know. Maybe you are vaccinated and you're feeling afraid, and you might hear this and go, oh, well, that's something. That's worth knowing. I don't think we're out of the woods, but fear ain't going to get us out of the woods. Like I said, preparedness and caution and some goddamn smarts will get us out of the woods. But rarely will you see people succumb to fear and make a really smart decision. You very rarely see people do like a real rational together thing that really helped things when they're terrified. So I know I've been hitting it kind of hard the last couple weeks, but the news is not looking out for you. They're doing the opposite. And you should read it from a variety of sources and try to figure out what is true. But the CDC has a website, and the World Health Organization has a website. Stop letting CNN and whomever tell you that it ain't what it is, or that it is what it ain't. Because they will wait till the 19th paragraph to tell you that only 1.5% of hospitalized people with COVID are vaccinated and non-immunocompromised. So in that spirit, if I were going to leave you with something, it would be this. And I'm not leaving you, we'll be back. It's going to be okay. It's an oddly controversial thing to say, but I believe it to be a fact. I don't know if we will ever reach a point of finality where it is okay forever. We've done it, everything's fine. I think there's always going to be things to be worked on, be they racism or sexism or transphobia or homophobia or COVID or education or homelessness, whatever. But a lifetime of observation and study of history has taught me that things get hard and then they get better. Or things are hard and you get little moments where they're better. When I say it's going to be okay, I might not mean next year for the rest of your life. I might mean for an hour on Saturday, it's going to be okay. You'll be at the park with your family, and it's going to feel good. And just be open to that, you know, and let that get into you and work on you and stick with you. I know some people don't want to hear that it's going to be okay because they think that saying that is a denial of the work that is to be done, and it's not. If you come to my show, or if you've been to my show recently, you've probably heard me say kind of hopeful, optimistic things whilst also saying we have work to do. You know, I stood on stage and I spoke about being anti-racist and standing up against homophobia and sexism. And afterwards, I sold some merch to a gentleman in an NRA hat. Now, I don't know, you know, he could, I just know that he stayed for the whole show and he listened to everything I had to say, And I felt good about that. And it sort of made me feel hopeful that, like, it can change. People can change because some people are still willing to listen. And it might feel like they're few and far between, but maybe it's not. And maybe it doesn't matter. If at least if we hit the people that are few and far between, it's something. It's progress. And if nothing else, you'll have this for when you're watching the news and you're scared shitless and you need a big man with a bassy voice to say, hey, it's going to be okay. I don't know how and I don't know when, but it will be. It's going to be okay. I think a lot about my son. He's 12 now. And what I've learned about him is he likes to be comforted in a variety of ways. Sometimes he'll say, like, hey, what would happen if someone came into the house at night? And he wants me to answer differently. And I've gotten pretty good at sort of sussing out what he needs in the moment. But sometimes he needs to be told the truth, which is that it's incredibly unlikely. It's never happened before. It's very, very unlikely to even happen. And he'll go, oh, cool, good. Other times he'll say, hey, what would happen if someone came into the house at night? And he wants me to say, oh, I would snatch you up and you, me, and mom would be out the door, in the car, gone. Cops would come, be fine. Other times he wants me to say, like, I would harm that person. I would rip that person limb from limb if they came into this house and tried to scare you or your mom. Pity the soul that crosses that threshold because they got to come through me. He likes that. And I think sometimes in life we undervalue the different ways people like to be comforted. I think sometimes when people are feeling at their wits' end, they want to know what we're going to do to fix this. And I get that. I tend to be one of those people. But I think other times when people are at their wits' end and they're afraid and they're sad and they're feeling hopeless, they just need someone to say, hey, it's going to be okay. You know? And I think in a lot of ways, that has been what these last 55 weeks have been about. That it's going to be okay. And that it's okay to have moments where you feel like it won't be. And that it's okay to not know how it's going to be okay. And that it's okay to have ideas about what we can do. And it's okay to take action. And it's okay to take a rest. And, you know. And it's okay if you need to hear that, even if other people think you shouldn't. So, that being said, let's do some recommendations. Let's get you out of here. First up, we got a category today. We got a theme with the music. We got the theme is sort of alt country rock bands whose singers did solo records, but the band did not break up. First, this record is by Ben Nichols, and it's called The Last Pale Light in the West. Ben Nichols is the singer, guitar player, and primary songwriter for one of my favorite bands called Lucero. This record is his only solo outing. It's got 7 songs on it, but it's a concept album based on Cormac McCarthy's book Blood Meridian. And it's great, and it's kind of sparse, but you get some pedal steel and some accordion and that kind of thing, but mostly you get his acoustic guitar and his voice and some great songs. So listen to the title track, The Last Pale Light in the West. And heck, while you're at it, listen to Lucero. Up next, this record is called Rockingham, and it's by a gentleman named B.J. Barham. B.J. Barham is the singer, guitar player, and primary songwriter, exclusive songwriter, I believe, for a band called American Aquarium from North Carolina. Also fantastic. Check out a record called Things Change by them. This record, they were overseas. American Aquarium was overseas playing some shows, and that tragic shooting happened in France, and a lot of American bands sort of got locked down in their hotel rooms for days trying to figure out, like, are we canceling the tour? Is it dangerous to continue the tour? That kind of thing. You know, it's like when things like that happen and no one really knows what's going on, sometimes the first impulse is like, all right, everybody just sit still for a minute and let's try to figure this out. And while BJ was in his hotel room, he wrote these 8 songs. And it's a bit of a concept record just about the place that he's from and about his family. And again, kind of sparse, but you do get some drums and some banjo and some organ and some pedal steel, and it's great. I love it. This might be my favorite thing he's done. Listen to the song Unfortunate Kind. And in fact, watch the video. I will link the video. I believe the video for this song to be one of the most powerful, beautiful, simple things I've ever seen in my life. Beyond music videos or whatever. It's a single shot of a man in a car, and that's all I'll say, but you should watch it. It's phenomenal. And then finally, because we're going to be apart for a couple weeks here, unless you come to a show, so you might need more than just the 3 recommendations, because you promised me you're going to listen to SS Webb, Steering Ships with Empty Bottles, This Cold Soul, the song Down. Come on. Also, you're going to watch City Slickers. I love this movie. This has been one of my favorite movies my whole life. I think it might be the first like cowboy movie I ever really saw. And I know it's not technically a Western, but you know, how are we measuring that? It's got cowboys and horses, and it takes place in the West. But it's hilarious, and you know, Jack Palance in this is phenomenal as Curly, and you get Billy Crystal, and Bruno Kirby is so good in this, and it's so funny and so moving, and it's a beautiful meditation on family and friendship and what you're doing with your life, and it's fantastic. And I've loved it since I first saw it. This is the second copy I've owned, because the first copy kind of vanished on me, so I went and bought the collector's edition. But recently my dad, I've never watched this with him, and I did not ever talk about it with him. He referenced it in a message to me and said it was one of his favorite movies. And I said, no way. Because I don't know if you know, like, for the most part, my dad and I, when I grew up away from him, often in different states, childhood divorce and all that. So occasionally, even we're very close. We talk almost every day and have a lot of shared interest in bluegrass and that kind of thing. And we just love each other. And he's a great grandpa and a great father-in-law to Tori and a great dad to me. But occasionally, in a kind of a wonderful, fun way, we learn things about each other that, like, maybe, like, Oliver's known for years and years and years that Dad loves City Slickers. I didn't find out this about my dad till like a week ago, and it was so cool to find out that, like, he loves the same movie that I love for all the same reasons, and we shared the same quotes, and it was just really great. So watch City Slickers. And that's it. If you want to reach me, you can. It's just email Christopher@ChristopherGold.com. We can book house shows that way. We can just chat if you need someone to chat to. You can go to ChristopherGold.com, check out all the dates, and come see me play a show either with my band or by myself. I'm very excited. The Sunday of Mile of Music, I'll be playing a show at Lawrence Chapel in Appleton, which is a beautiful room and has some significance to me personally, and I'm very excited for that. So if you want to come out to a quiet one in a beautiful place that's going to sound great and not cost you nothing, come see me at Lawrence Chapel during Mile of Music on Sunday. Not this Sunday, next Sunday, I think. I don't know. Time. That's another thing this podcast has been about. Time ain't nothing but a number. There you go. Drink good coffee, or drink bad coffee with a smile on your face. Who cares? And I'll see you in a bit. Maybe sooner, maybe later. I don't know. But in the meantime, it's going to be okay. Take care of yourself. Take care of somebody else. And we'll see you soon. Bye.